All right, 99.9 Punk World Radio FM. You guys already know what time it is. Right here, right now, we are actually joined by a legendary multi-platinum rock band. That's right. We got Ronnie and Randy Winter of the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, and they are live on our radio station airwaves and, of course, YouTube as well. I got to say, guys, such an honor to speak with both of you this evening. How is your weekend going so far?
Awesome. I just watched a video of Ronnie's son doing a talent show, and it blew my mind how incredible he is already, and also exactly how he reminds me of Ronnie in like third grade doing this talent show, and how he was like an immediate smash. I was like watching it, just like getting flashbacks of that. It's been a fun weekend.
And some of those talent shows as well, they're just absolutely insane. Some of the things those kids can do, it's like it kind of makes you jealous, being like, wow, I wish I had that much talent when I was a kid.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. He was saying a song, so like he's really happy that he knows who Red Jumpsuit Apparatus is, and he knows his uncle Randy's in the band, and that his dad is in the band, and he thinks it's really cool. So it was cool to see him do his thing, and it was weird being in the audience instead of being on stage. I was like, oh, this is what it's like.
You using your mic?
Huh?
It looked like your live mic.
It was similar. They gave him a Shure. He had a Shure wireless mic. Yeah.
And also as well, I know you guys are very busy individuals, so of course I'm not going to take too much of your evening. But but Ronnie, I got to take you back to the beginning of this legendary band, the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. In 2001, yourself and Duke Kitchens actually started the band while attending AP Music Theory class. I was wondering if you can actually tell our viewers a bit more backstory, just pertaining to this day, and of course, like what actually made you both decide to start what we now know as the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus.
It was 2001. I was actually in another band with Randy, who's on now, and Randy was the lead singer, and I was the drummer. So that was my main band. That was called Dishonest. But we both had songs that didn't really fit that one band. So Randy and I both started other bands. So there was 3 bands total. That's the true story. This one was just kind of a one that I had a bunch of songs that I wrote on acoustic on my couch. Like I said, that didn't fit the other band. And Duke was in between bands. He had like 5 or 6 bands. He was nuts. He was in like, he was in Fig Tree. He was in The Recovery. He was in a bunch of bands all at the same time. So we just kind of started jamming together because we were in the same music theory class, basically. And I had a bunch of songs that were already ready to go. But that's just kind of how it started. I mean, this band was a side project for me in the very beginning, and then a couple of years later, Randy joined up as a permanent member. But he also was on the very first album that everybody knows and is still the most famous album today, called "Don't You Fake It." So it's really been me and Randy the whole time. We were always working on each other's projects. He helped me a lot in Red Jumpsuit. I helped him a lot in his other bands, and we both worked together in Dishonest. So that's really we just kind of like tried a bunch of different things all at the same time. That's really kind of what happened.
And Randy, if I'm not mistaken, you did a lot of drumming work actually on Don't You Fake It as well, correct? If I'm not mistaken, you did drumming work on that.
We're not Don't You Fake It, but like Ronnie was saying, from the beginning, before it was recorded, like we kind of like what we did was we simulated our own live environment. So like in the previous 2 bands, we noticed really quick, like when you go play at a venue, it's totally different than it is the rehearsal room, because like it's loud and you can hear yourself and you blow yourself out when you're practicing. So what we did is we actually bought like a crazy PA that was the equivalent of what's in Jackrabbits, the local venue, and put it in our living room. And then all these different bands were all simulating that live environment there, mastering their craft. So like Ronnie was saying, we kind of like bounce songs all the time, different stuff back and forth. Like, cause after the jam session, we're there, and we're there for hours on end, hanging out over days, So sometimes we work on different things, bridge ideas, chorus ideas, drum ideas, whatever it was. And we're both drummers and both writers, so yeah, I mean, we just constantly worked on everything randomly.
Yeah, it wasn't really one instrument. It wasn't like it was just drums or just guitar. I mean, we were just working on everything all the time together, and always have, really.
And also as well, the one thing I've always wanted to ask you guys, because I actually read this online years ago, but you guys actually chose the name by voting for random words that were actually threw on a wall. I have to ask, can you tell us a bit more about that day? And of course, what other band names were kind of, on that wall of possibilities?
That is true. Because, like I said, I already had a main band. My main band was called Dishonest, and there was a lot of like really cool like theology behind that name and a lot of meaning to that name. So with this band, I just wanted something goofy and silly, and I really stressed that I didn't want to. I didn't want everybody comparing one band to the other. That's one thing that most artists don't want, especially in a side project. So anyway, I just said, hey, everybody throw your idea up on the board, and we did. And I remember one of them was Umbrella Ninjas. That was one of them. And then Leading the Flood was another one. There was a whole bunch of weird, kind of lame names. And the Red Jumpsuit is the one that actually won because there was another band from Jacksonville called Yellow Card, and we all thought they were great. Well, I don't remember who said it, but he goes, "How about Red Jumpsuit?" And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. It's kind of like Yellow Card, but different." And then our bass player, who actually left the band before our first show, he came up with the apparatus, and he kind of tagged it on the end there. And he goes, "Well, if we add apparatus to it, then it can mean anything." And he's like a really, really smart guy. And he actually worked his way up in the military. He's still in the military today. His name was James Gump. So he's really, the credit goes to him as far as naming the band. So he named the band and then he pieced out before our first show. True story.
But I have to say as well, he definitely put a phenomenal twist on the band name because you guys
Yeah.
have one of the most unique names within rock and punk rock music. Like when you hear Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, you obviously know there's one and only band.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. I mean, to be honest with you, it sucks typing in that name all the time when you log it into your email because it's kind of long. But credit to James Gums, man. He's a super intelligent guy. He's one of those like, full scholarship kind of kids. We're still friends to this day. He's just a super brain. And he was right. It's cool. It was a cool twist on the name. And yeah, I just wanted to, I didn't come up with it, but he did. And I thought it was really smart and we hung on to it.
And I know we briefly touched on this album a few moments ago, but on July 18th of 2006, you guys actually released your debut, now multi-platinum studio album titled Don't You Fake It. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about the story behind this monumental album. And of course, did you yourself, Ronnie and Randy, did you guys have any idea how big this album was going to be? Did you guys have any idea when you were recording it that, we really have something special on our hands?
I remember when we were in New York, I was sitting there with Randy, and Randy was working on some piano and some strings. I think for Guardian Angel, or it was either Guardian Angels or In Fate's Hands. I don't remember which song it was at the time, but he was working on the keyboard, and I was like, I feel like we have a shot, and he thought the same thing. But to be honest with you, like we thought the same thing with our other bands. I mean, we really just decided that we were going to go for it no matter what. We had a conversation a couple years before that, and I'm sure you remember this day, Randy, because I'll never forget it. And we just looked at each other and we realized that it was just other human beings. That's it. That every rock band that's ever come before us is just a bunch of regular people. And if we ever had a shot at doing anything, we'd have a better chance at that than becoming some kind of Nobel Peace Prize winner or some kind of, brain surgeon or some kind of, it was like, hey, it's this or nothing for us. This is the only thing we're good at. This is the only thing that we're actually, that we know. And like Randy said, I mean, we've been doing music our whole lives since we were very young. So I don't know, Randy, what do you think? I like to think that we did believe that it was going to do well.
I mean, I definitely knew that, like Ronnie was saying from the very beginning of this conversation, even really, like, we just were going to throw a bunch of fishing lines out, and one of them caught it, we were going to grab it. So, like, it was a matter of time. And then whichever, hook took hold, that was going to become our focal point. And that's exactly what happened. When Red Jumpsuit started crushing locally, what we realized really quick is it was gaining traction way faster than any previous project that we had, which was like Radioactive Fungus Monkeys, Burnout, and Dishonest. And that point was the focus was Dishonest. And we realized, whoa, okay, this is working really well. Don't we have, the new band, Red Jumpsuit, open up for our current band, Dishonest, so we can incubate our current fan base and the years of progress that we've made straight into the next band, so we don't lose any momentum or let any of the work that we had done. We worked really hard as a local band, and I purchased some ads with Clear Channel independently. I have an ad rep, Rob Nicholson, and went there and owned a radio spot for like 30 seconds several times a day. And right off the rip, like they did like I want to say a show or two at Art Bar and a couple local like under the radar gigs, but like the legit one at Freebird was the smash immediately. So we knew pretty quick that that was going to become the focus.
Yeah, that's something people don't really talk about, even though we have mentioned it, which is it was hard to let go of Dishonest. We had another band that was successful, that was doing well. Like everybody in Jacksonville knew who we were. We were selling out clubs. We had multiple releases out. People came to our shows and we played original music. We didn't play cover songs. And we were one of the only bands that did that. And I'm talking about Dishonest, not Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. So when Red Jumpsuit started doing well, it was just kind of like, it was hard to let go of Dishonest, but I remember one time me and Randy talked about it at the very end. And it's like he said, he was like, this was always the plan, whichever one grabs, we got to get behind it. So we collectively just let Dishonest die, which is really weird. It's like we never even had a last show. We never had a goodbye show. We just went, well.
It worked. Actually, we could have never been that good, actually.
Yeah, but it could have been a whole nother band, is all I'm saying. This band could have just been the one that didn't catch. So that is a big part of our story, and it's a huge part of the story because the origin of any band should be important to, if you think you're a fan of a band,
And also, obviously, this day and age, there's like social media. Anyone can actually record in home studios. Do you guys think that you actually maybe down the line you might actually bring Dishonest back, maybe for like a couple extra shows around your hometown area? Maybe another album, kind of like kind of bring it back to life a little bit.
So many times I've asked Randy that, and so many people have asked Randy that because Randy was the singer, and Randy was the main songwriter. So all I can say is he's been asked that a lot. Randy was the first person I've ever seen that had a home studio. He was way ahead of the curve, and I mean way ahead of the curve. It's very common now, and it's easy to find. And you could just go to Guitar Center. I mean, that's crazy to me. You used to have to know what you were doing and be really good at searching for gear. You used to have to go to pawn shops and know what worked and what didn't work.
On the actual motherboard.
Yeah, used to have to be like a computer brain to run music software. Now they've made it pretty dummy proof. You know what I mean? But that's a good question that only Randy can answer. Who knows? Maybe one day he'll want to do at least one single or something. I don't know. That's up to him. It's always been up to him.
Yeah, I guess we'll pass the mic to Jesse and we can talk about one.
Don't do that because you already know what he's going to say.
But also, though, before we move off the topic of this amazing album, "Don't You Fake It," the one song I have to ask about, and I know you guys probably got asked about this throughout the years, so I got to say I'm sorry for being yet another interviewer that brings up this song. But one of your guys' most famous songs is actually now 5 times platinum, and it's called "Face Down." I was wondering if you can actually just tell our viewers the story behind this song, and of course, back then, what actually made you guys decide to create a domestic violence awareness song? Because not a lot of bands were really doing stuff that you guys were doing. You really made a song and brought awareness to what really goes on sometimes behind closed doors.
The lyrics from the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, with a few exceptions, there's a couple of sections where we played around with specifically like we've written a few songs about movies. Like I wrote one about the Hunger Games called Mockingjay. Randy wrote one about Twilight called Twilight. So there's about 4 exceptions in a 20-year history. Other than those 4 exceptions, every song is just a true story. It's just me writing about something that me and Randy went through. And the truth is we had a pretty messed up childhood. And that song is just one of many. And that topic was important to me because we are domestic violence survivors. And it just came out. It just came out just like every other song came out. That one happened to be about what we were going through. And the song right after that happened to be about a breakup that I was going through. And the song right after that happened to be about a party that I went to the weekend before. So it wasn't really on purpose. It's just me talking about the stuff that we faced And throughout the years when we put it out, in the beginning, I just wanted everybody to know, that's why I wrote the song, because it's something that we experienced, and we've never been ashamed of it. We didn't let it define us. We became, you know, we became good people, even though we had every opportunity to go the other way. I can say that. And for us, it was a very clear choice, because a lot of the people who grew up in the neighborhoods that we grew up in and who were in similar situations went the other way, and they wound up in jail or dead, or you know, in worse situations. And I don't know, we kind of just looked out for each other, is how I like to say it. And it's just, I don't want to downplay Face Down. It just is, they're all face down. That's the truth, to be honest with you. It's another story of something that we've gone through. You can, from the awakening to Other Side to Face Down to Getting By to Home Improvement to, you know, Cat and Mouse, they're all the same, really, when you think about it. But that one in particular is about domestic violence, because that's something that we did experience as children, and it is part of our life. And we decided to talk about it, because nobody was, not back then.
And I got to say, first and foremost, thank you for making such a phenomenal song that actually a lot of people can kind of use as a coping mechanism. Me, myself, I actually was in a domestic relationship with my ex-girlfriend, but it was like kind of like, it was like literally I used to be the one that got abused and whatnot. And I know in the video it was a girl, but I always use your guys' song to really help me cope and realize, you know, I'm not the only one that this really happens to. So just for that, I got to say thank you for making a song that a lot of people can use to help them and let them know that they're not alone.
Absolutely, man. That's what we wanted to do. I mean, we've always been just trying to carry the message. You know, we do believe that there is a loving God out there, and we do believe that if you try to do the right thing, even though your situation sucks today, if you make good choices, that there's always a way out. You know, there's a way out. You just can't give up. And even when we do shows for the military, you know, there's a song called "Represent" that we wrote for those guys, and another one years later called "Pleas and Postcards." We feel for those guys too, because our little brother has been serving for over 20 years, and he's done multiple tours. So there's a couple more true stories for you right there, song titles that I just threw out. So we try to just keep that message of hope alive. If there's ever been a mantra to the band, it's been that.
And also, as well, in February of 2007, you guys actually headlined the U.S. Take Action Tour that was actually an awareness to prevent youth suicide, and also, of course, domestic violence as well. That actually happened alongside My Chemical Romance and Rise Against. I know you guys do so many shows, so of course it takes a lot to remember a certain show. But from what you can recall of this night, what was it like just actually, you know, headlining this amazing benefit and just headlining alongside Chemical Romance and, of course, Rise Against?
Well, I hate to be a stickler, but that's not actually who was on the tour. We have played shows with those bands, and they were cool. That tour was the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, Scary Kids Scaring Kids was the other band on that tour. And there was one other band. I can't believe I can't remember them right now. But the misconception is that My Chemical Romance and Rise Against have done that tour in previous years. So we didn't actually play. So they did do the Take Action tour. They just didn't do it the same year that we did. So I just wanted to clarify that. But it was great that year we got selected as the band. The reason why I chose to do that tour is because I knew that My Chemical Romance did the tour before that, and that Rise Against did. And I thought it was cool what they stood for, which was awareness about suicide prevention in the youth, which now all of a sudden, finally, thank God, is a hot topic, right? Again, back then it was something where anytime you talked about suicide, you were looked at weird. You know, I mean, the word emo wasn't even a thing yet. You know, people didn't even know what it meant unless you were in the scene. But pretty much any emo band, it's very close to their heart. Hawthorne Heights is another band that's just like us when it comes to, they really just want to remind the kids out there that you should stick around. You know, that suicidal thoughts they may come. God knows I've had them many times, you know, but the important thing is to not act on that, and that you are cared about, and that there's a lot of people out there who you may not think about care about you, but they do, and that life is worth living. And that's why we did that tour, because that's what that tour was all about. And that's why Rise Against and My Chem did that tour. We did not do that tour together. I didn't want to falsely answer that question, but I'm a fan of both of those bands, if that counts.
I got to say thank you for clearing that up as well, because I saw that on Wikipedia, and I know every band's Wikipedia has a few flaws and a few misinformation because anybody can edit it. So I'm glad you actually corrected that. That way, if anybody knows how to edit Wikipedia, definitely they can actually fix that.
Oh yeah, our page is full of bull crap. You know.
It's like the worst reference possible. It's just
Yeah.
people are editing it. Any like ex-girlfriend or has spite or anything, it's just a non-stop battle on there.
Yeah, I would not recommend researching any band on that page, to be honest with you. But you know what? I appreciate the tenacity to care to learn about somebody before you speak to them. But you know what? We should just put our own story up on our .com. You know, maybe it's time where we just set the record straight. But it's just weird talking about yourself, right? We don't want to come off a certain way, but maybe just to get all the details hammered down, we could maybe do a more in-depth bio. For a long time, our bio just said ha ha ha, you know. So we just like the music to do the talking. You know, we don't come out wearing masks or makeup. We've never been into the show business side of things. We're just brothers who decided to go for this thing and made it.
And also as well, you guys are one of the biggest bands within rock music. So of course, at the end of the day, the bio on your website definitely should be haha, because at the end of the day, if you have to read the bio, you should definitely know why you're on the website. At the end of the day, it's Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, the one and only.
Yeah, we just read the lyrics. You know, I always encourage people to read the lyrics, and you can learn a lot about this band if you read the lyrics.
And also as well, I actually saw as well back in the day, I remember seeing this, that you guys actually appeared in season 3, episode 8 of The Hills on the episode For Better or For Worse. I was wondering, how did you guys actually land the opportunity on this show? And of course, like, what was it like just working on the set? Because obviously it must have been a really different vibe for you guys to actually be on a television set rather than, of course, a regular stage.
Yes, that one's true. That did happen. You know, we were with Virgin Records, and they did do a good job. You know, I've never really said they did a bad job. And at that time, Jason Flom was the president. And when Jason Flom was the president, we had a great experience with Virgin. And, you know, he sent me a quick email and was like, hey, MTV wants to do something with you guys. And I said, great. I mean, I didn't really know what it was. He said it was something called reality TV. Reality TV was still in its infancy phase, so it wasn't super common yet. It was breaking. And he goes, oh, well, basically they just kind of shoot you hanging out, and you just talk and act normal, and then they take all that and then they edit it up and they turn it into an episode. And that was what we were told. And then we just showed up, and that's exactly what happened. We had dinner, and then I believe we were doing a photo shoot for a brand called American Eagle, if I'm not mistaken. So they had a bunch of clothes out, and then the Hills cast showed up, and they just shot an episode around us hanging out. That's it. There was no script, there was no storyline, nothing. And then the producers and the editors of the show, they created a story with all that B-roll, and that's how they produced that TV show. So it was kind of fun for us. You know, the only thing that was weird was some people they think all that stuff is real. Reality TV shows not real, guys. Hate to break it to you. I was there. Maybe some of them are, but definitely not that one, or not the episode that we were on. So if you were to be there with us, you would kind of see. So of course we weren't mad or happy about how it turned out. We were just glad to be included. At that time, MTV was a big deal in the rock world, and it's kind of sad that they're not anymore. But it was cool. It was fun. They were really nice. They were really, really cool people, and I enjoyed the experience. But you know, we basically just hung out, and then later they created an episode, and that's what happened.
And I got to say as well, when you said a few moments ago how you wish MTV was still actually big, I think the same thing as well. Even when you turn it on today on the TV station, it's like ridiculousness for like 8 hours straight. I really wish they should bring back the music videos.
Man, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's kind of like a Blockbuster moment. They could have really capitalized on, you know, been the first platform to, you know, do streaming like Netflix and stuff like that. But Blockbuster thought it was over, and really it was just the beginning. They didn't see the paradigm shift. Same thing occurred with MTV.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never quite understood what happened there. I know that they were like very instrumental in helping our band gain traction. You know, they were playing our music videos all the time. They had us in the studio multiple times. We got to do the MTV radio show in New York City, and they were just killing it. And then all of a sudden, it was just ridiculousness all day long. Like, what's going on? Like, why do you need 10 episodes in a row of one TV show? Like, I don't get it.
Like even down here in Canada, we have Much Music, as you guys already know, and it's like the same thing. I think Bell Media bought it out, and now it's like Simpsons for like 8 hours straight. And I mean, I like the Simpsons, but if I want Much Music, I want some music. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I guess, I don't know, Randy, maybe you'll agree, but I guess YouTube just came in and just wiped everybody out. If I was to look back, you know, because instead of having to wait for your favorite band's video to come on, because me and Randy would sit there and wait, and sometimes we'd wait for hours, like, they're going to play Metallica? Are they going to play Metallica? Are they going to play Metallica? And then finally, Enter Sandman would come on, or, you know, when the Reload came out, yeah, or Marilyn Manson, or just something cool, you know, like a rock video that you couldn't see anywhere else would finally come out, or Nirvana, Heart Shaped Box. Remember how killer that video was when it came out? Like, when just that exhilaration that you would feel because you had to sit there and wait through all the crappy pop music. You know, eventually they would play a good rock video. Then all of a sudden you could go on YouTube and just type it in. Bam, there it is. You know, you didn't have to wait anymore.
Like Matt Pinfield, you know, something awesome to come on. But
Yeah, Headbangers Ball.
that perfect storm, like with the labels starting to realize they were on a, you know, sinking ship. They were kind of jumping, but like not necessarily jumping, but reformatting. And then you also had like all these streaming platforms dawning, like Ronnie said, YouTube. They all saw like what was going to happen, and it was a matter of time. And all the, you know, the domino effects that would occur afterwards, the streaming services, you know, people are crazy when we said that it was all going to be free, and they gave us shit for years over it. And then here we are,
Yeah.
because the prize is the audience and the ads that you can spin to them, like a commercial on TV. So the whole thing has been a rebranding and reformatting of the same thing, but with different names. Cyclical pattern.
Yeah, I think the video on demand for the punk rocker and the metal kid, which is what we were, I think that's what killed MTV. It was the fact that we could go elsewhere and get what we actually really wanted right now, instead of having to wait all day through this other garbage.
Right, MTV too. It's been a while.
Oh yeah, MTV too. You're right. That was cool.
The thing is they saw like just, you know, like subgenres of music. They saw there's so much coming in, and we're like, it was a blockbuster moment. They could have really figured out a way to capitalize on it by just going digital, MTV, and being first, you know, being YouTube's competitor, but only capitalizing on music instead of just, you know, content creators. Blockbuster could have done that. They could have been the first Netflix or whatever it is, but instead they're like, oh, tell me out of here, jump ship, and they missed the bus. The MTV, they didn't fully miss the bus, but they could have really, you know, capitalized
No.
on music television.
Yeah, music television. That's what it is. But you know, on the flip side of things, to play devil's advocate, their award show is still huge. It's still super popular. It's still massive. People still watch it. I still watch it. So how do you explain that, right? I don't even know. I don't even understand, but I watch it.
I mean, some young kids,
and also we actually have a fan question actually came in, and I got to say this is actually a pretty good question because me personally as a fan, aside from the interviewer, I've always actually wondered this as well. But Tyler Smith actually wanted to know, will you guys actually record any more scream vocals in the future? And he says, love all your stuff regardless.
What do you mean by that, right? So I mean, there's been screams on every release. So when people ask me, and I have something called autism. So when you ask me a question, I'm like, I don't understand if it's invalid. So our last release was called the Emergency EP. There's screams all over it. Randy did some awesome screams on there. You know, and then every release we've put out, except for maybe one, has had screams on it. They're screaming all over the place, guys. What do you want us to do? Do a scream only song? It's like we've been screaming for 20 years, guys. Like I don't know what to say to that question.
I got to say it's true. You know what I mean? 20 years of screaming, you get tired after 20 years. You know what I mean? You just want to just mellow it out a little bit, maybe.
Well, Randy did the screams on the EP, and he does them all live. So if you come see the band live, all I can say is you're going to get a lot of screams. So prepare yourself, because if you don't think that's going to happen, then you're sorely mistaken. And we also have multiple guest screamers almost every show. So I don't know. That just tells me Tyler Smith has.
Just type in Red Jumpsuit when we were young, and you'll see the last full performance there. And
There you go. It's full of screams, guys. You know, try asking me your other question is all I can say.
And also as well, that EP actually came out during the pandemic because I remember listening to it, and I got to say, such an amazing project. But obviously, during the pandemic, when you guys released that, even though you guys are a really huge band with a huge following behind you, did you find it was really hard to really promote this project during the midst of the pandemic, or did it just come naturally to you guys to really push this amazing EP?
You know what? It did suck. We were in the middle of a tour. And I'll never forget it. There's been a few times in my life where me and Randy have had conversations that have stuck with me forever. Some good, some bad. And this time he looked at me and said, everything's going to shut down, bro. And I was like, nah. I mean, I just didn't believe it. I didn't believe it, you know, and I was like, I was thinking in my mind, like, it can't because we're putting a record out, you know, like I was so off base of reality.
Oh, and it was like March, so like people were just starting to kind of, figure out what was going on. So
Yeah.
like, like what, but you kind
It,
of by just looking at global stock positions.
well, it definitely affected our band because being an independent band, how you promote an album is we get out there and we play like live shows. You know, we're one of the only bands out there, one of the only ones that in our entire career, we've never taken a hiatus. We've never broken up. We've toured the entire time. COVID is the only thing that paused our career as far as touring goes. Yes, it did put a little bit of a strange curveball into our usual business as usual releases. But you know, Randy's been always been awesome with social media and pushing things online. So our numbers were just as strong as normal there. Luckily for us, we have somebody in the band who can do that. I tell everybody who asks me about being in a band, you need to have one guy in your band who's really good on social media. It doesn't need to be everybody in the band, but you need to have one guy like Randy who knows what he's doing, and you'll be okay. And then have another guy who does this. You know, you try to compartmentalize a little bit. You know, so that's something I highly recommend. So on the digital side of things, if you were watching the streams and if you were doing what I call the bean counting, the EP kicked butt against all odds. You know, it shouldn't have, but it did, especially because we were going against other supposed independent labels and major labels, and we were competitive. You know, we were getting just as many streams as they were, but you know, a lot of that credit goes to Randy, not me. I just sang and wrote the songs on that one.
What a lot of people don't realize is the reason why we already kind of like were able to release that so quick after the response to what was going on is we actually had recorded it the year prior.
True.
On a tour bus. So it was, we kind of had an interesting way of like, just, like Ronnie said, writing about truth and what's going on around us and culture, society, and paradigm shifting and the evolution of what's just going on in human nature. And that was a lot of the theme of that album. That's why it's called the Emergency EP. It was recorded the previous year on the bus, and then there was a couple songs that we finished off the vocals on the next year, right as it was kind of starting to be talked about, the V word, I'm not even going to say it. And then we started to do the tour, and immediately we had that conversation that Ronnie referenced to, and it shut down immediately. And then we're like, all right, well, at least we're not caught with our pants down with new content. We got an album that's completely 100% relevant to what is happening right now that we recorded last year. Let's finish off vocals and band. So like that was one positive thing that we were really blessed into without even actually trying whatsoever. So a lot of bands immediately were like, wait, no, this is going to go by for a month or two or three. And after about 3 or 4 months, people really sat in like, oh, wow, this isn't like the smoke's going to clear in 3 months or 6 months even. So we already had, digested that fact and grabbed our content that was already in the process and just started finishing that off, channeled all of our energy and promotion into that. And then just as that was tapering off, then we went back and I found all the mixes of Don't You Fake It and went through and muted the vocal, and Ronnie started doing a live performance of that, which I thought was like freaking phenomenal. Just live vocal literally to the actual studio album. So yeah, we didn't really struggle for content whatsoever, and that's what stumbled us upon also doing the orchestral or symphonic version of Don't You Fake It. We went back to our archives and I was like, oh yeah, we got this acoustic stuff that we're working on, and I had added the quality, like Philharmonic, the best preamps and best microphones for already recorded, New York Philharmonic and woodwinds and brass sections, and had chipped away at that over the years to where like all of a sudden we're looking for that content. Here it was, and we just hit a jackpot like gold mine of awesomeness. So Ronnie and I just kind of started, it just the path laid itself out for us, and we just were like, wow, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's a good point because when the Emergency EP came out, especially Brace Yourself, people thought we wrote that song like after lockdown, because it was so lyrically relevant to what was going on. But we didn't. We wrote it before that because that's what was going on in the world anyway. We're just a kind of a truth. We're a truth at our own detriment kind of band.
And when you said a few moments ago, Randy, about how you guys actually recorded this EP while actually touring on the bus, I just have to touch base on that because obviously I'm a DJ. I just spin the music. What was it like actually just recording an album on a tour bus while actually touring? Was it difficult for you guys to do that, or did it just come naturally with all the technology?
3 separate engineers that are proficient in our band and developing fourth one. So it was ridiculously easy. We had like multiple recording stations, multiple interfaces. Anybody who's running direct in was doing guitars or bass in one section of the bus in the front, and Ronnie and I would do guitars in what we called like the king size bunk that had like a little office setup right next to it, so you could plug your interface there. And the power was clean, 60 hertz, no ground cycle bus from that or anything. So it was Ronnie's idea. He was like, hey, like, well, record on the road while we're traveling, 8 hours a day from here to there. So it was like just a genius idea because the overhead of going and renting a studio was gone. So we did everything that we could, without a live room, and that was a lot actually.
Yeah, looking back, it was actually a lot of fun. I told everybody I don't know how it's going to go. We're going to just try this, and we've also worked with every famous producer under the sun at this point. So like, we want to try something else. We've just been there and done that. We've been in the big rooms. We've worked with the big names. We've been mixed by the best in the industry. And this EP was all DIY. Randy and me and our drummer John we're all really good engineers, music engineers. And by that, I mean, we can record and run the software ourselves, not to mention when all three of us get together and we work on a project together. So it was cool. I feel like the band really liked it too, and it gave us something to do. And a lot of times when you get to the venue, we kind of all disappear and do our own thing. But on that, I'll always remember that tour because we stayed together. Every day we would park and then get right to recording. So it was interesting. It was like we would park and then we would all stay together, and then we would go play the show, and then we would drive, and then we would all stay together and record a little bit more. And there was a lot of laughing and a lot of good times. I don't, we don't really necessarily have to ever do it again. It's one more thing that we checked off. But I wouldn't be opposed to it either. But it was fun. I look back at it as a really fun experiment.
And also, as well, on October 21st of 2022, you guys actually entirely revamped your single Face Down, where you guys actually did a symphonic edition. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this incredible single, and of course, what actually made you guys decide to create this amazing edition?
Well, Randy kind of touched on it earlier. Randy had the idea a long time ago. I'm going to just guess almost 10 years ago. The album's coming up on its 20-year anniversary in a year or two. So it was somewhere around 7 to 10 years ago. He kind of started kicking around the idea. And I wasn't really all about it at the time because that just means I have to record the same songs over again, So like for me, it's just kind of like, oh, really? Like I already sang these, you know what I mean? Like I can't really explain why I resisted it so much, other than the fact that I was lazy. I'm just trying to be honest, I just already felt like I conquered Face Down, But then when I heard his version that he played me, he's like, here's what I got, with all the good, like he was saying earlier, with all the good strings and horns and everything on it. And it was during COVID, and I wanted something extra to sing to because I'd done the song acoustic like 100 times at this point for the YouTube and Twitch and Facebook stream audience that we had. And I was like, I need something new, something different. And he sent me that, and I tested it. You know, I'm a very innocent till proven guilty kind of guy. So I was like, hey, let's just see what the people think about it, right? And they just flipped out. They're like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. Like, for some reason, your voice sounds way different when you sing on this version. So I pretty much hit up Randy right away. I was like, hey, you were right. You know, that happens with brothers sometimes. You know, sometimes I'm right, sometimes he's right. He was right on that one. And so then I kind of really went after it. And I really just said, okay, well, if we're going to do this thing again, then we got to try to step it up a little bit. So I actually did sing even harder this time around than I did the first time. I really pushed some notes even higher. You know, everybody loves the high notes on Face Down. Well, you should check out the symphonic edition because it's even higher. It's really, I had to match where he went with the song. And there is an actual album. It's not just one song. But at this point, you know, everybody's saying they want new music. So we're literally, I think we should do a poll. We could literally just only put Face Down out. We could put Guardian Angel Symphonic Edition out next year if we wanted to. Like, there's no rush. I mean, Face Down Symphonic Edition is still literally on the radio right now as we speak, and it's still growing. The video is still just exploding. Like, so it's kind of a weird place to be in, where it's like, okay, well,
remember Face Down was on the radio for a long time.
yeah.
How long was it before the album actually came out?
The first time or the second, or talking about the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I remember Face Down being on the radio for a while.
Yeah, I would say about 9 months. So we're only coming up on like the third or fourth month now. So, you know, we got choices is what I'm saying. Like,
Right.
I don't know, maybe we should do a poll, you know, do you want new music or do you want us to continue to release the rest of the symphonic edition singles, right? So like, and I've had this conversation with the band and we're kind of split right down the middle. Half the band wants to keep going with the symphonic and the other half of the band wants to release some of these bangers that we got, because we got some good stuff. We got some good stuff already recorded. So I don't know.
What is cool is it is already done. It's been done since what, last year?
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, that's what people don't realize. They're like, hey, do Guardian Angel or do this. It's like,
yeah.
I guess, yeah. Like,
Yeah. We'd have to, you know, film a video, but you know, that's easy for us to do. But you know, we got decisions we got to make. So I'll probably bring it up to the band again. Because the last time it was a dead split, and it's hard to do anything when you have a dead split. But more likely than not, I think we will just go ahead and put the record out this year. I'm leaning towards that because the way I see it is, we might as well do it now, right? And then we'll jump back into new music. So, but I can't promise that that's going to be what happens because we're still deciding. We're still actively, that conversation is still actively going.
Have you guys ever thought about maybe a double album, kind of like, you know, CD1, the new album, and of course, you know, CD2, actually all the symphonic edition singles?
I haven't thought of that, but I mean, the symphonic edition is an album in its own, and I know that. Like, I don't have any like creative conflicts about that. We have a symphonic edition album, and it's fantastic. And the people who love Face Down Symphonic Edition are going to absolutely love the rest of the songs because they're just as different as that one is. As a matter of fact, that one we probably stayed the safest on, I would say. There's some other songs where we really push the boundaries of the pre-existing composition. So, and that's just fun. That's fun for the old fans when you breathe new life into a song. We're not just regurgitating them out. We're not just dropping the old vocal on and being like, oh, well, here it is with some strings on it. You know, we really spent some time on it. So it's an album on its own. I'm definitely not going to entertain anything like that. But in the future, that's not a bad idea. Who knows? Maybe we do like a double record a year or two from now, you know, but that would be not related to the Symphonic Edition current project.
I gotta say, I completely understand on that. Like here on the radio station, I actually aired the original Face Down from the 2005 record, and then a symphonic edition as well. And I get a lot of call-ins just for the symphonic edition. Whenever they hear Face Down, like the original, they call the station and be like, "Hey, we just heard the original. Play the symphonic." And I'm like, "Okay, like I got you." You know what I mean? Like if they want it, they're gonna get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you spinning the track, you know, and I appreciate all the love out there if you are watching this or if you come across it. You know, the fans speak for themselves. They tell us when they don't like stuff. I'm not going to say every release we've put out has been received well. There's been a few that people didn't like, but it's not this one. They're definitely loving this one. And you know, if they love this one, they're going to love the rest of them. There's no doubt about it. If you're a fan of the album, the original album, then it's just a treat. It's a treat to listen to. It's a stroll down memory lane. You know, it's all those good memories coming back.
Yeah, it's kind of like a demographic transcender. Like you'll have the original old school gangster listeners that like grew up with Don't You Fake It, regardless of what age they were, and then you'll have like the young kids now that are just starting to listen to different music, and then the older demographic that would like think that Don't You Fake It original was like super heavy. Both that youngest kids like they're sitting they're watching whatever it is, playing with some toys that are only like 2 or 3 years old. When they hear the symphonic edition, they're gonna like it. It's gonna be just like lullaby music to them. And older people, they're gonna hear it, and it's gonna be more palatable and fitting to the ear. So the kids that are in the middle bracket that really gravitated to it, and people didn't understand it, now they can be like, "This is what you didn't understand." And I think that's where you get that transcending demographic.
That's an interesting point, right? So if you strip away the metal and the screams and the post-hardcoreness of the record, you can actually really hear the songwriting behind it all, and you can.
Nice, like it's crystal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. You can kind of see like, oh, this is why we liked this, you know.
And also, as well, I saw on your guys' Instagram and Facebook that you have multiple tour dates all across North America. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this amazing tour. And of course, when does all these amazing festivities actually kick off?
Yeah, this is just the first leg. We do concentrated legs in this band. We don't do like 1 3-month tour and then we're done for the year. That's an older, outdated model, in my opinion. So what we do now is we do concentrated legs. So this is the first one. There'll be at least 3. There'll definitely be one centered around the Midwest. There'll definitely be one centered around the Southwest, and there'll be another one centered around the Northeast. The only place we don't go to as often is the Northwest, for no particular reason. I don't know. It just hasn't been somewhere we visit often. But as far as this tour, the dates are up. Tickets are being sold right now as we speak, probably some tonight, maybe even some in this very moment. We're currently sitting at 100% sellout ratio. So if you're watching this, don't wait. Don't wait. Go ahead and get your ticket. So, we're just a touring band. Like I said, other than one time, we did pause one time for a global pandemic. Other than that, we've been road dogging it the whole time. So it's what we do. If you love the band, the best way to support a band like our band is to come to a show. We've said that from the very beginning. And by the way, you're going to have a good time. So just get your butt in that car, drive out to the show, and have fun.
And also, I do have to ask, because obviously, at the end of the day, aside from being an interviewer, I'm also a Red Jumpsuit Apparatus fan as well. So I have to ask, man, for all the Canadian listeners, is there any plans to actually come to Canada during this tour or anytime soon?
I should have saw that one coming. It's so cold, man. It's so cold.
I don't blame you.
I'll tell you what, I will think about it. We have done it. It's not a place that we've never gone to. We've had some phenomenal shows in Canada is the thing. And, I'm sure you remember Fuse. I think Fuse was somehow related to Canada. And our first producer, Dave Bendith, is Canadian, so like, he talked about it all the time. And we've had a lot of good shows there, but the scene in Canada went through some changes. And I think anybody who's really tied into the scene will agree with that. So at one time, post-hardcore was just massive in Canada. And when we played there, it was massive. And then because we never broke up and we never took a hiatus, that completely shifted in Canada to different genres and a lot of kids who live there. And they literally just started listening to different kinds of music, which is part of life. So when we came back through, because we're not Canadian ourselves, we weren't necessarily in touch with the scene there. So that was my experience. But we have had some pretty amazing shows there. And I do remember them. And one of my all-time favorite bands is Silverstein, by the way. So I just absolutely love that band. And I have my whole life. And I listen to every record when they put one out. So, and they talk about how they do. So maybe Silverstein will finally bring us out on tour. What we need is another band that's Canadian to reach out to us. And we'll take turns, all right? We'll kill it in the U.S. and you can come open for us. And you kill it in Canada and we'll come open for you. There ain't no ego here. We need a good Canadian band to reach out to us and we can work together. That's what I think is the solution to bring Red Jumpsuit back to Canada.
And I got to say, Ronnie, I definitely agree with you with the Canadian scene. And that's why I created 99.9 FM, just to help bring the essence of that back, man. Because
Bring it
unfortunately,
back.
I'm a huge fan of the culture, man, and the music, and just seeing how it's going here in Canada. It's like people don't want that anymore, but it's like I do bring it back. So hopefully, the station can ignite some spark to make it all happen again.
Well, I'm glad you agree with me because, like I said, I tell the truth to my own detriment. But the point is, I know there are some amazing Canadian bands. I see them killing it on Instagram. I see them doing shows. All they got to do is reach out to us. We'll do a 50-50 swap, no problem.
And also, I have to ask, because obviously, what is next for the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus? I know we talked about the new album, the Symphonic Edition as well. We just spoke about your guys' amazing tour. But did we miss anything during tonight's interview? Anything else you guys still want to touch on, talk about? We still got you here live on 99.9 FM.
I think we covered everything unless you're missing anything, Randy. But just, we're excited about the reception of Face Down Symphonic Edition. There is a full album. More likely than not, we are going to put it out this year, but we might stretch it out. I don't know. We're talking about filming more videos. We're talking about maybe filming some videos that for songs that didn't get a video last time. Like, how cool would it be to see Cat and Mouse finally get a video, right? Everyone I've said that to has been like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" They just love the idea. So once we kind of really figure out what we want, we're older, man. We're dads now. We got kids. We don't have to rush into any of these decisions anymore. We don't have a boss. So we're just going to keep talking it through. But I can tell you that the album is coming out, that it is real. It already exists. We just really want to, now we got to compete with this last video. Yeah, that's going to be kind of hard. So, I think that the rest of the music, we also have new music that's very typical Red Jumpsuit post-hardcore stuff. That's really great too. So how we're going to fit all that in the mix, I don't know. But right now, as far as I'm concerned, my focus is still just on the Symphonic Edition, mainly Face Down, and how we're going to follow that up. How are we going to follow that up? That's where I'm at.
And also, obviously, I know how to follow you guys on social media, but for the people that, obviously love you guys as a band, but might not be that efficient with social media, how can they actually go about following not only the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus as a band, but also you guys as individual members as well?
I would suggest, I tell everybody to really pay attention to the Instagram and Facebook. Randy's great about, constantly updating the story feeds. He's also really cool about sharing fan shared content. If you tag the band, Randy's always, most of the time, he shares more fan stuff than he does from all these famous photographers and content creators. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of cool to see people be like, "Oh my God, they shared my story," or "They shared my photo." We're into that kind of stuff. So if you really want to be in touch with us, I do encourage you to follow the social media, mainly Facebook and Instagram. Also, I stream on Twitch. I'm easy to find, Ron Apparatus. That's more of kind of what we're doing right now. It's more of point, counterpoint, a little bit of video games, a little bit of bull crapping. But I do talk about the band a lot. But you can also always email us at rjapress.com. We do get those emails and we do answer them, but it's the best way is just, to reach out to Randy, honestly, on Facebook or Twitter and Twitter and Instagram. He's on there all the time, guys. All the time.
Yeah, between all the content on YouTube and what Ronnie has on Twitch, you've got like endless hours and hours and hours, like watching literally a show on a TV, episodes, seasons of content. So by the time you get done with that, there'll be more.
Yep. And we also have more episodes of our tour vlog coming out. We have our own content creator who's fantastic, who also was an actor in our most recent video named Kay. So we have about 6 unreleased episodes. And this time, instead of putting them out, I'm finishing them all. And then we're going to just drop them every 2 weeks until the next 7 to 8 come out. So that's another thing that's going to happen this year. So if you like hanging out with us or watching our shows, as far as like the kind of like episodes that we drop, there's a lot more of those coming out this year too.
And I got to say, first and foremost, guys, thank you so much for just accepting my inquiry and coming on my radio station. Honestly, like I mentioned to you guys before we went live, I've been a fan of Red Jumpsuit Apparatus since your guys' very beginning. So honestly, just thank you so much for your time. It was such an honor to be able to interview you guys and just speak about your amazing career within the music industry, and also to talk about this up and coming tour, and of course, these amazing new albums that are to come. Thank you guys so much again for your time on this amazing Sunday night. Hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon. But most of all, thank you guys for music that not only myself, but millions of listeners all over the world have the opportunity to really listen to and help them get through difficult times. So thank you so much for that, guys.
Thank you. You're welcome. Symphonic Edition. We're not done yet. We only put one out. We got a lot more coming, so hang in there.
Hey, I'm definitely excited. As a fan, I'm sitting back and I'm waiting. But like the old saying goes, good things come to those who wait. So us fans, we're definitely going to wait for these amazing music.
Our portal is theredjumpsuitapparatus.com, the band name.com. So if you want to get linked anywhere to any of the stuff that we're talking about, it's all right there.
There you go, theredjumpsuitapparatus.com. Check it out, guys.
Hey, most definitely, guys. Thank you so much, and have yourself a wonderful night, and definitely safe travels on tour. We definitely shall talk soon, guys.
All right. Thank you. Bye.